All right, we are in Algebra 1. We are taking notes now. Today is Monday, April 22nd. April 22nd, that's a bad 4. April 22nd, over the voices that are still talking. You're writing down the date, 2019. It is that Monday after prom, so we're all nice and squirrely. All right, so I want some vocab. This vocab is pulled from that wall. So if you look underneath PEMDAS, you will see exactly what I'm about to write right now, which means it's really easy to get XP. I know that this group over here kind of has a hard time seeing. You can even stand up to get that XP if you want. These are the 4 posters underneath PEMDAS. These are super, super important to remember for the rest of your algebra career. All right, so quiet raise hand. Expressions have what, Jenny? Roots. And Jenny, you can now turn in your card. And let me come back over here. What is going on with... This thing is not recording. I don't know what's going on. Everyone is getting up. All right. There we go. Jenny. All right, so I'm going to be using this word roots a lot. Actually, all of these words kind of mean the same thing, just in different forms. So equations have what? Oh man, so many. There's a teacher error already.
No, there's not. He's trying to get.
Montse, what do equations have? Solutions. Write it down.
I was going to watch a prom. Okay.
Functions have what, Josie?
Oh my god.
Zeros. Let's come back over here, Josie.
Oh my god. No.
And finally, graphs have cones. Cohen, go for it. X-Intercepts, there it is.
Wow.
The easiest XP you've ever gotten, I'm sure. Alright, so you 4 can turn in. You 4 can turn in your cards. These are all the same word. Roots, solutions, zeros, X-intercepts. In this unit, and basically in any unit, I guess, it doesn't specifically talk about quadratics. But these are the same words, but they're talking about different things. If I'm talking about an expression again is just a statement, no equal sign. If there's no equal sign, then if I solve this, I get roots. My roots are 3 and 5. If I'm talking about the solutions, that was our homework last night, where I actually set this thing equal to 0. I now have an equation. If I solve for 0 and use the zero product property, and I solve and I get 3 and 5, 3 and 5 are the solutions, if I'm talking about equations. If I'm talking about a function, again, that was on the homework last night, I have f of x equal to x minus 3 and x minus 5. I have to set f of x to 0, and then that's basically turning it into an equation to solve, and the zeros are at 3 and 5. And finally, if I'm looking at the graph, if I'm looking at a graph, I have the x-intercept 3, 0 and 5, 0. It's the same point. It's the same thing that I'm talking about in different forms. So just try to remember roots, solutions, zeros, x-intercepts. These are not technically synonymous, but they're talking about the same thing, just in a different form. Expressions, equations, functions, graphs. All right, so all we're doing today is graphing using the x-intercepts, which you know how to do from yesterday's homework, well, I should say the weekend's homework. The additional thing is how to find the exact coordinate of the vertex. Again, the vertex is a point. The vertex can be this point right here, or this point right here, depending on which way the parabola is facing. So we'll say vertex is this thing right here. In case you forgot from Friday's lesson, the vertex is the very top or the very bottom of a parabola. How do we find that point? That's what today's lesson is focusing on. How do we find that point? And there are 3 steps to find that point every single time for tonight's homework. All right. To find x-intercepts, and this is a review from, what is it, like Unit 2 from forever ago. What is the definition of x-intercept? It's where y is equal to what? 3 people remember this. Only 3 people remember this? Uh-oh. Jose, help us out. 0. Y needs to be set equal to 0. Write it down. Thank you, Jose. I don't know what's going on with the brightness of my... There we go, I can see. All right, next I need to find the x-coordinate of the vertex. Again, this was from Friday's lesson. I have a explicit note in 16-1, how to find the x-coordinate of the vertex. You can flip back to your notes. How did we find the x-coordinate of the vertex? Who remembers this or is finally looking back at their notes? You should be using the notes for today's lesson, for the homework, studying for the test, studying for the quizzes. How do I find the x-coordinate of the vertex? And again, you can kind of use logic too if you don't want to look back at your notes. So the logic is, we can even use this graph right here. If I have two x-intercepts, it's going to be halfway in between the x-intercepts. So you could literally write down halfway in between the x-intercepts. That's not too useful because we want a more straightforward way. Like, okay, well, what does that mean if I have one negative, one positive, one positive, one positive? Is there, Mr. Sindel, a formula or some straightforward way of doing it? Jose?
Isn't it like add and then divide by 2?
There it is. I'm going to write down what Jose just said. Add, divide by 2. So if I have my two coordinates, I'm going to call them x1 and x2. I'm going to add the x1 and x2. I'm going to add the two x-intercepts that I found from step 1, and then I'm going to divide them by 2. Add the two x-intercepts, and if you want to add the additional stuff in your notes, you can. This is not required. These two x-intercepts are x-intercepts. I add the two x-intercepts and I divide by 2. Technically, I'm adding the x-coordinates of the x-intercepts since x-intercepts actually have two coordinates, 3, 0, 5, 0. I'm not adding the zeros, I'm adding the 3 and the 5. All right, and then finally, the new step today, finding the y-coordinate. Because again, the vertex, the thing I'm trying to find, this vertex has an x-coordinate and a y-coordinate. So once I find the x-coordinate, how could I find the y-coordinate? This is you guys. How could I find the y-coordinate if I have the x-coordinate? And you can be thinking, okay, in example 1, I could find those x-intercepts. I can find the x-vertex. How do I find the y-vertex, the y-coordinate? Josie, you want to go for it? Say again?
Subtracting.
A good guess, but not quite. You still get your XP, and you can turn in your card if you want. That's not quite it. Any other attempts? All right, well, I'll give you the straightforward answer. I have an x. Oh, you got it?
I don't know. I just want XP.
Okay, go for it. Try it, yeah.
The same thing, just minus, divide by negative 2.
Just randomly divide by, no. It is easier than a formula, but good attempt. All right, I'm going to give it to you guys. Here is the answer. If I have an x, because I just found the x-coordinate, right? I have an x now, and I have an equation. Plug the x into the equation. Let's say the x was 2. Then I plug in 2 here and here. I don't think the x is 2, unless it magically is 2. I just plug it into x, and then I figure out what y is. I figure out what all this stuff is on the right. I just plug it into the equation. So I'm going to say plug in.
Plug in x to the equation.
Plug in to equation, if you want.
Would you put like x or just like nothing? Just plug into equation.
You can say the plug in x if you want, because we just did step 2. So plug in step 2 to the equation, or plug in that x that you just found into the equation. Whatever that x is from step 2, you're going to plug in that thing. So this step 2 gets plugged in here. And you'll see that soon enough with our example. So we have 2 examples and we're done. It's that straightforward, because you've already learned step 1. We've been playing around with that in unit 2. We just did step 2 yesterday or on Friday. And then finally we're doing step 3. So we're doing all of them. Here we go. Example 1. I need 3 volunteers. I think maybe even 4 volunteers. I need 1 volunteer to help me start doing step 1. What was step 1? Look back at our notes. Step 1 was to do what? Help me set it up. I only see 2 hands. I see Fernando and Jose. Just literally tell me step 1. Read it off of there. Fernando. Set the y to 0. So here's my y. I'm going to set that to 0. I'm going to rewrite it. Here we go. 0. And I'm going to rewrite the right-hand side, x minus 7, the quantity of x minus 7, times the quantity of x plus 5. All right, Fernando got the first step for us. Thank you, Fernando. All right, and this is a review from the weekend, review from Friday. What do we do in order to find the x-intercepts after I set y to 0? Two hands. I see Cohen and Andres, and half of Gunner's hand. What do I do next, Andres?
So I'm gonna give it a guess.
Okay.
And I'm gonna do -7 on both sides.
Ooh, good guess, but not quite. That's a good attempt. You did get that XP? Yeah, Cohen.
Set the 2
Exactly, yeah. Set x minus 7 to 0. Set x plus 5 to 0. Here we go. So, x plus 7 needs to be 0, and x plus 5 needs to be set equal to 0. I'm setting both of these things. Oh, I know. Sorry. Good catch, good catch. I saw you guys. X minus 7 equals 0, and x plus 5 equals 0. All right, thank you, Cohen. All right. What do I do next to solve? Gunner, do it for us. Add 7 to both sides, and you get x is equal to, Gunner?
I know.
Only give him help if he needs it. And then, Gunner, can you solve the other one for me as well? Plus 5?
No, minus.
Oh, minus 5. Okay. Minus 5 on both sides, and I get x is equal to,
-5.
there it is. Everyone write it down. There are our 2 answers, but that's not the final answer. I'm not going to box those because I'm not looking for the x-intercepts. I found the x-intercepts. The x-intercepts happen at 7 and -5, so in the back of my mind, I'm thinking graphically what's happening. I have a parabola where this point is crossing the x-axis at 7, this one at -5, or that's not a -5, -5. Maybe my coordinate plane is right here. This is what's happening graphically. I'm thinking that in the back of my mind. Now I need to find this vertex. I need to figure out exactly where that is. Jose's already ready to go for step 2. Who else can do step 2 for me? We just did step 1. We found the x-intercepts. It's at 7, 0 and -5, 0. Jose, go for it. You add them, divide by 2. That's what our equation says. So, Jose, can you do that for me?
7 plus -5 is 2.
So I'm going to get -2 and then over 2, and that simplifies, Jose, to -1. What's up, Sergio?
Is it 2 instead of -2? Yeah, 2.
Oh, just 2. Okay. Now let's come back here. 2 over 2, and that is equal to +1. Yeah. Thank you, Sergio. Thank you, Jose. Yep. All right, everyone, write it down. Give me a sec. Jose is basically there, and then Sergio. All right, what we're doing here in black is this is doing step 2. I can even do step 2, circle it. This was step 1 up here. Step 1 was finding the x-intercept. Step 2 now is finding the x-coordinate. This is the x-coordinate. This is half of the answer. So I know that the x-coordinate now is 1. I need to find the height, the y-coordinate now. That's the final additional step that I haven't been able to do. So what am I going to do? I'm going to do step 3. Someone help me out. Step 3. What am I going to do? Andres?
So you plug in what you got to the first equation.
Okay, plug in what I got to the first equation. So let's do step 3 now. I'm going to plug in this 1 into the equation. So I get y is equal to 1 minus 7 times the quantity of 1 plus 5. Yeah, thank you, Andres. All right, I need someone to give me the y-coordinate of the vertex. Simplify all of that stuff. Who can do that? And if you want to tell me step by step, that's fine too. I can work through it with you. Yeah, Gunner, go for it. I don't need to set both of them equal to 0. I just need to simplify. So 1 minus 7, Gunner?
1 minus 7?
Yeah.
Wait.
-6. And then 1 plus 5? That's 6. 6 times -6, Gunner, is?
6 times 6
There it is.
No, Andres and Jessica both have you.
All right, I will give them XB. So between step 2 and step 3, I have my answer. Here it is. This was the x coordinate. This was the y coordinate. So my answer, I'm going to write it in red now. My x coordinate was 1. My y coordinate was negative 36. There is my answer, 1 comma negative 36. My x and y coordinate. Again, the vertex is a point. The point looks like right here. That point is 1 comma negative 36. All right. So we'll do one. Actually, we only have one final example. This one is a little bit tricky because when you plug in, you finally have to multiply by 3/8, but it's the same thing. When you're finding the x-intercept, maybe we'll just go through it together. Let me come back here, give Gunnar XP. You said Jessica's helping you? And Andres? Okay.
And Jennifer.
Yeah.
And Jennifer too?
Yep.
Okay.
And also,
And basically the whole class was helping you?
yeah.
Is that what was happening? All right. Let's walk through this one again. This is a slight deviation. All right, we're doing step 1 now. Who can help me with step 1? Jessica.
What?
Yep, set y to 0. There it is. So 0 is now equal to 3/8 times the quantity of x minus 5. Nothing here changes on the right-hand side. Times quantity of x plus 3. Yeah, thank you, Jessica. Proximo. Next, what am I going to do? I'm going to wait for people to still write this down. People are writing and writing. And next step is to do what? Fernando, help us out. Yep, so, oh, this is kind of weird, right? I have 3 things. One thing times another thing times another thing. I have 3 things being multiplied. Do I have to set all 3 of them to 0?
No.
Maybe. I don't know. What do you guys think? So the point of the 0 product property is saying something times something equals 0 means that something or that something is 0. But the whole thing is we have to figure out which one of these is 0. Can 3/8 ever be 0?
No.
It doesn't make sense to set 3/8 to 0. We know that's not going to be an answer. So what I'm going to do is I'm only going to set things with a variable, with an x to 0. So I'm only going to say x minus 5 equal to 0 and x plus 3 equal to 0.
What about that 3/8?
That 3/8 can never make this thing 0, so I don't have to worry about checking 3/8. All we're doing is checking what could be 0. Well, 3/8 can't be 0. This x minus 5 could be 0, or this x plus 3 could be 0. I'm going to write this a little bit more to the left because we need room on the right-hand side. Or this x plus 3 could be 0. But 3/8 can never be 0, so I don't need to set 3/8 to 0. That doesn't really make sense. That basically ends the equation right there. That can never happen. And I guess I didn't really need parentheses. If you want parentheses, you can have them. If not, you can just get rid of them. All right. And who is my next volunteer to tell me what are the x-intercepts? Ooh, or at least the x-coordinates of the x-intercepts. Who can solve these really quickly in their heads? Choom, 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 choom. I see only 2 hands, 3 hands, 4 hands. Yeah, Jessica. There it is. Write them down. X equals 5, x equals negative 3. You can just add 5 to both sides, subtract 3 to both sides, or you could just think, what do I have to subtract from in order to get to, or if I do something minus 5 equals 0, that something should be 5. There are a bunch of ways to think about that one. All right. So this problem is a slight deviation because I'm now actually finding the x-intercepts. An x-intercept is a point. That means I need an x and a y coordinate for the x-intercepts. So this is going to be 5 comma something. So let's write down our x-intercepts. Our x-intercepts here, I have 2 of them. I have 2 x-intercepts. I have something comma something, something comma something. I need another volunteer. Tell me one of the x-intercepts. Is it 0 comma 5 or 5 comma 0? Which one is it? I need one of the x-intercepts. Cohen, go for it. It is 5 comma 0. And can someone give me the second x-intercept? What is the second x-intercept? If it was 5, 0, this other one is going to be what, Monse? There it is, negative 3, 0. All right, those are 2 x-intercepts. Let's box that. We're halfway done with the problem. Now I need to find the vertex. Thank you, Monse. All right, so on to step 2, finding the vertex. Let's do step 2 in black. Step 2. Step 2 again was finding the x-coordinate of the vertex. So who can help me do that? Find the x-coordinate of the vertex. Only one person knows how to do that. That's not good. We're on step 2. On our second example, Jose. All right, so tell me exactly what to write. Yep, and that simplifies to 1. Oh, that's weird. I randomly chose points, and it happened to be exactly the same x-coordinate. Just a coincidence. It's not always 1. Maybe I should have chose a different example. Sorry about that. Yes, the x-coordinate is 1 again. Thank you, Jose. All right, Gunnar, you seem very talkative. You can help us out with step 3 then, right? No? We just found the x-intercept, or sorry, the x-coordinate of the vertex. We need the y-coordinate of the vertex. You all of a sudden know? All right. You plugged in. All right, so I'm now going to have y equals, I'm rewriting this formula, but that formula now, instead of the place of x, I have a 1. So y equals 3/8, 1 minus 5, and 1 plus 3. All right. Who wants to walk through how to do this with me? Who's going to walk through step by step to get our y coordinate? Andres is our brave volunteer. All right, go for it, Andres.
So it's going to be y equals 3.
Y equals 3/8.
Negative 4.
-4.
Plus 4.
And then
Just 4.
and then times 4. So,
Yeah, times
and then what is -4 times 4, Andres?
negative 16.
There it is. -16 times 3/8. That's not an 8. There we go. Cool. I think that is enough, and now I can give it to.
Gunnar also helped me. Like actually,
I did not see him helping you.
Can you hear me? He whispered.
I don't think you needed help for that. All right, and then this one is going to be a little bit of review, but if I have a fraction multiplied by just a constant, that constant is really divided by 1. So -16 over 1, and when I'm multiplying, I just multiply fractions straight through. So I don't actually have to multiply straight through. I can actually reduce. This -16 can be divided by 8 right away. So what is 16 divided by 8?
2.
2. Yeah, so this 16 crosses out. That's now 2. That 8 crosses out. It's now a 1. I'm reducing before I multiply. And of course, there's still that negative out front. So if I want to move that negative out here as well, I can. So that -16 reduces to a -2, and that 8 turns into a 1. Now this is really easy. 3 times -2 on the top, 1 times 1 on the bottom. And I'm going to move to the left here because I'm running out of room on the right-hand side. So who can tell me what my final answer is for my y-coordinate? Cohen. Careful. There it is. -6. All right. Who helped you with it? Yeah? Okay. And then my final answer, I have my x-coordinate here, my y-coordinate here. Let's write it down. My x-coordinate is 1. My y-coordinate is -6. This is the vertex. And since it asked for both of them, maybe I should label this one. This one is the vertex. Vertex is 1, -6, and box it. Those were the 2 things it was asking for. X-intercepts and the vertex. So when you're graphing on Khan Academy, it needs only 2 things. One of those x-intercepts, so you can choose either one, and the vertex. So you're really experienced now. You have 2 examples under your belt how to find the vertex, and you can choose a random x-intercept. It doesn't matter which one it is, it will graph regardless. Give me a fist of 5. How well did you follow today's lesson? I see a 4, a 4, a 4, a 3, a 4, a 4, a 3.5, a 3, a 4. Is that a 3.5? 4? Okay. Cool. So averaging about a 3.5 to a 4, somewhere around there. 3.75 maybe. All right. Go ahead and write a quick summary, maybe something about how to find the vertex, maybe something about how root solutions, zeros, and x-intercepts are all really talking about the same thing. Once you finish your summary, there are 2 assignments on Khan Academy. One, reviewing some basics on how to find what vertices are. The plural of vertex is vertices. And the second assignment is actually graphing basic parabolas when it's in this factored form.